Hello, world, and welcome to another favorites video from the Brothers Blue. Today, we're going to be talking about our top five favorite actresses, which is like a problematic word or whatever. But we're not here to talk about that. So, to get us started, that is Cody.
And that's Kyle. And actually, for his number five, that's where we're going to get started because of the order of our favorites. Basically, what we wanted to talk about is his number five and kind of go from there. So let's do it.
Yeah. So my number five is going to be Scarlett Johansson, and just like every other video that we made about favorites, it's like, how is that your number five? uh,
Right.
yeah. So Scarlett Johansson is my number five, and just like a brief synopsis of why she's like my number five. Like her appearances in the show Entourage
Yep.
make me feel like I know her. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And
Yeah.
yeah,
No, it's funny because I have that in like the end of my notes about ScarJo, and so like I'm kind of happy that you brought that up, but I'm also like, yeah, that's a great point because it's like this is ScarJo as a person, and they show her in the show, and it's just really humanizing.
yeah, and like elaborating on that with more of her work is Lost in Translation. It's just like
Yep.
such a good movie, and really, really like they try to make her like not as good looking as Anna Faris, and it's like
Right.
are we doing this right now? But yeah, no,
Yeah.
Anna Faris, she's beautiful and everything, but no, she's not Scarlett Johansson.
Agreed.
And also, she's the Black Widow in the MCU. Love that.
Right.
She's in like a bunch of MCU movies. Uh,
Yeah.
and finally,
Okay.
no, the Jojo Rabbit thing. Like, yeah,
Okay. So, with your number five and ScarJo being my number two, you literally just said every single movie that I have written down. So, let's go ahead and go into your number four.
yeah. My number four is Gwyneth Paltrow, and uh, the reason for that, once again, just kind of high up on the list, but it's like she's amazing, and I am a fan of her work, like mostly dating back to when it started, or my affinity for her started with the Royal Tenenbaums, which is a movie by Wes Anderson, who is my favorite filmmaker of all time, and that's arguably one of my favorite movies of all time, The Royal Tenenbaums. She is Margot Tenenbaum. Like that's what I think of when I think of Gwen Paltrow. That and Pepper Potts, the fact that she was Pepper Potts. But her older work, like she's been in movies for a long time. We were talking about like the
Yep.
IMDb credits of these people are insane. Like she was in like
Right.
Mr. Ripley and like just
Yep.
other random old like movies from the 90s and 2000s that you wouldn't even think of.
Yeah. So, The Talented Mr. Ripley is in my notes as well because it's just a great movie, and she is the lead female role in that movie. That's all there is to it. She also plays Holly Holiday in Glee, which is really fun as a character.
Yes.
And that is kind of also the mom and politician is like, she's just someone I want to like hang out with and like, yeah, like that's really, and then for me, it's not the Margot Tenenbaum so much. I love that role and she's great in that. But what made me fall in love with Gwyneth was Pepper Potts.
Yes.
And something that we talked about is how well she plays off of Robert Downey. But then something that she has in common with ScarJo is she is in so many MCU movies.
Yeah.
Like Pepper just naturally is in like most of the movies.
Yeah.
It's crazy. She's probably got like 8 or 9 movies in the MC universe. And we could sit here and count it out and figure it out. But like that's probably a good guess. Like she's probably in almost half of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Um,
to wrap it up. I'm glad that you brought up the politician because
yeah.
at the end, it's literally like
Oh yeah.
president, and it's like I
Yep.
vote for you.
Yeah. She
I
became
Gwyneth Paltrow, like
her character developed in that show because it was like she was just the mom of this kid.
yeah,
And that's so like that show is called The Politician, and if you were to say that that is named after one of the characters, you would say that kid, right?
yeah,
Peyton, right? Exactly. But his mom is the one who ends up becoming president. So yeah, it's pretty
yeah.
crazy. My number four is not in your list, and she's an amazing actress. And not only that, is one of those that we have talked about where I looked at her IMDb page and I was like, oh, so she's in everything. Got it. Just like with Scorsese, it's like, oh, so he just directed everything, like ever, like
Yes,
Catch Me If You Can,
exactly.
yeah, like everything.
Yeah, like my favorite movie I didn't even know was like directed.
Right, gangs of New York, right, exactly. Right. And so, anyways, Isla Fisher is who I'm talking about. And she's like the poor person's Amy Adams, who we'll get into next. But Isla Fisher is literally, and so this is, I'm going to just kind of go through it. So, Arrested Development, she's in that. She's hilarious. I love that show. The Bluth family is one of the great American stories, in my opinion. I just love it. Her as the wife in Tag is just absolutely hilarious as well. And
Yeah,
I love that movie because it's got Nick Miller in it and it's got Don Draper in it. And like it just has really good actors. And she kills that movie. She crushes her role like she always does.
yeah.
Now You See Me. I was actually going to ask you, Now You See Me, is that going to go into our heist list? Is that a heist movie?
That is a high.
It is, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
So
yes, it's a high.
she plays a magician in that movie, and she crushes that role as well. She's in The Gatsby by Baz Luhrmann, which is a great movie and a great, yeah, she does great in her role again there. So, yep.
I remember that you read The Gatsby.
Yes, I have read.
He
Yeah,
nails that character
yeah, exactly.
exactly how it's written.
So does not the DiCaprio, but the other, is it Gyllenhaal or who?
Tobey Maguire.
Tobey Maguire. Yeah, that's who it is.
Yeah,
And I'm not a big fan of his, but he does very well.
and I don't think it was critically acclaimed either.
Yeah.
But I agree with you entirely that like Tobey Maguire as Nick Carraway, he actually does good. It's like Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker. It just works.
Yeah. And not a big fan of him as Peter Parker, but that's another conversation. Anyways, and then there's the final two on the Isla Fisher. We're not talking about actors right now. We're talking about Isla Fisher. Isla Fisher, her funny roles in Hot Rod and Wedding Crashers are irreplaceable.
Yeah.
And like, dude, yeah, Hot Rod, exactly. Yeah. So
yeah. And the only thing I can really add to is something we were talking about before. Is she's married to Sacha Baron Cohen, who is
awesome.
yeah, like not like an actor, just actors like awesome people.
Right. Yep.
Sacha Baron Cohen. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like when he talks, I want to listen.
Yep. It doesn't matter what accent he's using.
Yep, exactly.
Or if it's a joke or not. Like,
right. All right, let's get into number three, which is Amy Adams. And I talked a lot about Isla Fisher, so go ahead and get us started with Amy Adams.
Yeah. Okay. So to get us started, I guess on it, something that I mentioned is like she's Lois Lane in the DCU, or maybe it's DC. Yeah, whatever.
Justice League universe.
Okay.
That's what I call it.
It's I'm pretty sure it's called literally like the
the DCU, right? Like the MCU.
Entertainment universe. Like for some reason they needed to add the E to theirs.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, because they wanted to be better than the MCU, even though they are not. Anyways, once again, like a lot of those movies are not critically acclaimed. The DC movies, like the Batman v Superman, was like horribly reviewed by critics. I love it. I love all
Yeah.
of the new DC stuff. And it started with Man of Steel, and she's in Man of Steel as Lois Lane,
Yep.
and it's like, yeah, Russell Crowe's also in that movie, and I'm a like in betweener on Russell Crowe, but he does a really good job. But getting back to Amy Adams, sorry, she's Lois Lane, and I love her as Lois Lane, and I know that you do too.
Right.
So there's a couple of David O. Russell movies that she's in that I'm gonna kind
Yep.
of try to talk about together. But she was also in Vice, which is Adam McKay, and she plays Lynn Cheney, and it's kind of like yeah, a lot like Isla Fisher's role in Great Gatsby, where it's like subtle, but it's like, dude, you're nailing it.
Yeah.
Does the exact same thing playing Lynn Cheney in Vice, and it's pretty awesome. Everybody should see that movie. And then it's like she's in everything. She was
Yep.
in Talladega Nights, and it's like,
Right. I have that in my list. And not only was she in Talladega Nights, she was great in Talladega.
yeah. So there's a movie you haven't seen that I talked to you about called Arrival, and
Yep.
yeah,
I want to see it.
it I will say, for those people who like know it and like that sort of genre movie, it totally falls into like the interstellar, like
Right.
astrophysics slash philosophy kind of thing.
Right.
And yeah, the movie Arrival is just amazing. And so like the David O. Russell movies that she's in though, and the Fighter is amazing. The Fighter, Mark Wahlberg, Christian Bale, and Amy Adams. Like, how are you gonna miss with that?
Yeah.
So that's a David O. Russell movie, I'm pretty sure. American Hustle is a David O. Russell movie, and it's once again Christian Bale and Bradley Cooper. But then your females are Amy Adams and somebody who I wanted to transition to, J Law.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah.
So hold on. Let's not transition to J Law yet. Calm your horses. Okay. So with Amy Adams, the only one that you didn't mention that's in my list, and that's Thing. Hilarious in Talladega Nights. Dude, when she gets in a fight with Mark Wahlberg's sisters in The Fighter, that is one of the best scenes. I love that scene.
It's on the front.
Dude. Yeah, dude, and it is like so hood and so street, and I just love that scene. So
yeah, well, and it's like, it's my house. Like, you're gonna come talk shit at my house, I will fight you in the street in front of my house.
yep, I will fight you in the exactly. And so, anyways, The Fighter, American Hustle. If there's anyone who hasn't seen that movie, go watch it immediately because it's one of the best movies. And like you said, the powerhouse actor Bradley Cooper does so well in that movie.
Yeah.
And so does Christian Bale. And Amy Adams and J Law. They all just crush that movie. That movie is so good. But
good job too.
The only one that you didn't mention is, and she is so young in this, she's in Catch Me If You Can. And she plays, exactly who she plays. She plays the Southern Belle, I think the girl from Georgia or whatever. And so, anyways, that's Amy Adams. I only wanted to mention it because it's a great movie. Leo, Tom Hanks, Amy Adams. Come on. And so before we get into J Law, because we will, and that's your 2, and I think my 1. I want to talk about my number 2 real quick, even though you pretty much said everything I have to say about her. ScarJo is my number 2.
Hold on. This is great. This works out just fine content wise because I won't say much about J Law.
Okay, whatever, that's fine. So ScarJo, that's the thing also, is it's like, which MCU movie is she not in? So like she's literally in Iron Man 2. That's like the second movie in the whole lineup. And then like not only that, Black Widow goes on beyond the initial 22 movies. So like she's one of the characters that yeah, I mean her show and like her movie has come out after that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, so to be like semantic,
Get a show, right?
no,
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 never mind.
I would know.
She died. But
Anyways, the movie that came out, even though it, yes, technically isn't part of phase one or whatever, the first like 22 movies, timeline wise, Black Widow literally takes place after the first Avengers movie.
right.
So
Yeah. So timeline wise, it's very confusing.
but like, yeah, it's literally in the timeline of like that whole thing.
Yeah. I don't know if you mentioned, I think you also did mention The Prestige, but she's in The Prestige, which is just a great movie. And she's in that and she does a good job in that. Again, that's just great actors in that movie, like, you know. So
Yeah.
And then Jojo Rabbit. What's that?
The Prestige is Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale. It's amazing. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so the last one that I wanted to talk about with ScarJo that was mentioned is Jojo Rabbit, and she plays the mom, and it's just such a great role, and she does so good. So do you want to do your number one, and then I'll do my number one, or do you need to do your number two?
Yeah, I'll do my number two, and I'm just gonna keep it brief.
Yeah.
So my number two is J Law, and yeah, I did Jennifer Lawrence. I did some research on her, so I have a list of her filmography. But like, really, I'll just go to the beginning and then jump to what I think is kind of the end. So like Hunger Games,
Right.
obviously, like my where it started
Mhm.
and where it's right now with me is Don't Look Up.
Right. And then not only that, but the other one that neither of us have seen, that's her new movie where she like plays the promiscuous 30-year-old or whatever.
Yeah, I can't believe we didn't look that. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And so another just random note, and I'll come back to her, is like she's great on Hot Ones, which we both watched. So yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
All right.
right there. Hot Ones.
So this is the unfortunate part about this list, is that Kyle's number one is actually not on my list at all. And that's not to say that I don't appreciate this lady actor. It's only that the couple of main roles or main movies that she does that make you rate her so high,
Yeah.
like don't they just don't land with me so much. So yeah.
Yeah. This is for me, like looking back on it, I didn't put Scorsese in my top 5 directors, and maybe I would rethinking it, and maybe I'll convince you that Natalie Portman should be in your
Yeah,
top 5.
maybe.
But yeah, so going into my favorite actress of all time, and once again, well, can I? Does that work?
Yeah, and then I'll do my number one.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, because I wasn't trying to say a whole lot. Anyways, my number one, Natalie Portman, and yeah, it goes deep because I'm pretty sure they used to show The Professional on like TNT or TBS. Like I remember seeing it on TV all the time when I was a kid, and it was like, how are they putting this on TV? But yeah, it was like syndicated television in the 90s was like a cultural phenomenon of itself. So yeah, the movie The Professional is just, it's amazing. And like I don't, I mean, it's one of the, it's like, it's a cult classic. And like hugely critically acclaimed, and everybody loves it. And Natalie Portman was like 10 years old in it.
Right.
So the other one, I'm just gonna kind of go through a rough synopsis of her filmography. Like a lot of these other people, she's been in so much that I can't go through an extensive and thorough filmography. But after The Professional, still like 14 years old, she was in the movie Heat.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a movie that like you for some goddamn reason have never seen. But he is another cult classic from the 90s with Val Kilmer, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, and Natalie Portman plays the like 14-year-old stepdaughter of Al Pacino, and it's like, what? Yeah, so yeah. Natalie Portman, love her in those first early ones. And then it's like she's like 16, 17 years old, not much later, and she becomes Queen Amidala in Star Wars. And it's like, okay, well, it's not light work. You're not doing light work here. What are you looking at? Anyways.
My dog, sorry.
Okay. So yeah, she becomes after she did The Professional and Heat, two of the biggest cult classics from the 90s. She becomes Queen Amidala, and it's like, Jesus Christ, what are you gonna stop? No, she doesn't. So in between all that, she was able to get a freaking degree from Harvard in psychology. And it's like, okay, what? Yeah, so that's what another reason why she's like my number one is like the fact that she has a psych degree from Harvard just makes me love her. And she was Queen Amidala and all that early stuff in her career. But then later on, after Harvard and her early amazing work, V for Vendetta is it's just amazing. And she's older, like you can tell. She like shaves her head. There's literally a band called Natalie Portman's Shaved Head. Did you know that?
No, but it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it's like like leftover crack or like weird names for metal and punk bands. There's a band named Natalie Portman's Shaved Head.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah, she has a cameo in the Darjeeling Limited, a Wes Anderson movie, where once again she just nails it. And yeah, also like this is ridiculous. Is like she's been in some of the best movies. Garden State was made by Zach Braff, who is the
I know
Scrubs guy, the guy who made Scrubs. And he made a couple movies, and one of his first movies was Garden State, and it's just amazing. And Natalie Portman is the main female protagonist in the movie. It's awesome. Then you've got Black Swan, and it's Swan Oscar winner. And then finally, she is Lady Thor.
Yeah, I haven't seen Black Swan. I have seen Garden State. It's not my favorite, and that's my thing. Is like, and isn't her Star Wars name also Padme? Like, isn't that And so like that's the thing is like she's Padme in Star Wars, which Star Wars is like not. I like Star Wars, but not like you do or like Cody does. Yeah, like seriously. And that's just all there is to it. And so like and Black Swan I know is a good movie. I've just never seen it. I'm not gonna say it.
My mind.
Dude, there's tons of stuff that I haven't seen, and you know that. So we'll go to my number one, and actually I'll kind of revert back to
I'm sorry.
I need to go soon actually. And so we'll actually catch up on my number one on part two. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, so we can do that, and we will start part two here in a bit. Knowledge is power, folks.
Sorry, we'll do honor. You can do your number one, and we can do some honorable mentions.
I don't have any, but okay.
Okay.
All right.
Close out.
Knowledge is power. Thanks, folks.